Well, everybody, we're heading to West Springfield, trying to catch that second rally. My swing dance in Cambridge is canceled because the whole town is locked down. Musicians I know that need to play up in New Hampshire can't leave that area. No one can leave their homes because of this manhunt that's underway for the Boston Marathon bombers, one of which is dead and the other one's at large, according to news reports. Anyway, so my plans change. I hope I go to Springfield. Well, here we are. We're at the West Springfield exit.
Hey.
It's very interesting to see a member of the press holding a Culpeper flag.
Well, I'm an independent press,
Okay.
but I won't claim that I'm not biased like the rest of them do.
Okay. You're just biased in the right way.
I'm biased in my own way.
There you go.
Fiercely unbiased.
Fiercely.
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Franceschi. I'm with the Rhode Island Oath Keepers. I got a couple of short speeches to share with you today. The first one here, this is one I wrote. It's kind of a gentle rant, I'll say, that I wrote in response to a lot of the comments that I saw in the Lexington Patch, which is the local Lexington paper, after they began coming after us and calling us all kinds of names. And this is really not directed mostly at this crowd, but if there's anybody out there in this crowd that does stand against us, listen up, because this is for you. Today I would like to address any of you who came here today to stand against us. I wish to say first, welcome. Let's have a chat, shall we? It is far too common among some crowds to claim the high ground of diversity and tolerance, and then, at the drop of a hat, shout down, demean, and silence those who do not hold unbendingly to their perceived reality. Any and all dissenting opinions and even facts do not comport with their ways of thinking, are rejected out of hand and dismissed without any further intellectual debate or critical thought. Well, some of us are tolerant and enjoy diverse opinions, and we don't only say these things, we actually mean them. So to those of you who would like to engage in a serious civil debate without name-calling, insults, and hyperbole, we invite you to come up and ask us questions and give us your thoughts on the topics we disagree on. Over the last few days, as we mourn the loss of yet more innocent lives and the numerous tragic life-altering injuries and emotional traumas from the recent attack in Boston, I have heard remarked too many times to count that we will get through this because we are a strong people, or that the terrorists have not frightened us and they will not change the way we live our lives. Well, judging by the security state that we live in, they have already won. They have altered our former ways, and not for the better. I have heard many remark on how those acts committed upon our friends and neighbors and families are cowardice, and this is true. However, there is another type of cowardice, even more dangerous, and that is the shrinking spirit of liberty in exchange for security. How many of our fellow citizens do we see running into the arms of an ever-expanding government nanny state to beg for protection? How many do we see cowering in fear from their own neighbors and family members who happen to believe that small government and the Constitution are a good thing? How many are afraid to reach forth and grab the world by the balls and give a good squeeze, afraid it will squeeze back? Far too many think they have no chance to live a good and decent life without the nanny state of government to provide them every creature comfort and need in life. There are those amongst us who wish to depend on the government to come rushing in on some elusive white stallion and save them from the perp who mugs them or kicks in their door at 2 a.m. instead of taking responsibility for their very safety and that of their loved ones.
The white unicorn.
Remember that the great American icon, John Wayne, the Duke, well, he left us some good advice. He once said, "Courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway." I think more Americans could benefit from those words today. Where are you, America? Where did you go? What terrible fate has befallen you when nearly half the country has forgotten their own history and lost their purpose? This nation cannot long survive at the direction of such cowardice and nonsensical thinking. We are supposed to be a gritty, yet enlightened working-class people with bold ideas, lofty goals, yet humble disposition. Never afraid of hard work and always ready to lend a hand and help the downtrodden aspire to a place where they can achieve their life's greatest dreams. It's not too late. There are millions of your fellow countrymen standing at the ready to help you and point you back to the road of reason and truth and away from the road to serfdom. But, as it is in the true American tradition, the heavy lifting will be up to you. You will have to learn how to thrive as an American in a free land. You will sink or swim, but you will have the peace knowing that you achieved to your place in life based upon your own merits, and that is a gift in and of itself. I implore you, look at our history. Look at both the good and the bad. Learn from the past, both what works and what doesn't, and why. Learn the truth about natural law and the true intent of our founders and our Constitution and our beloved Declaration of Independence. Believe in yourselves and in your children. For God's sakes, believe in your children. Trust in your neighbor and in your own instincts. You know something is terribly wrong in this nation today. You feel it in your gut. But do you believe that it is simply a political problem, or a problem with political parties with a mere political solution? Do you really believe it can all be fixed by passing even more laws, adding to the hundreds of thousands of laws already on the books? Our problems are much deeper than that. But the solutions are really quite simple, as so often is the case. Smaller, more local government, answerable to the people, limited and enumerated powers of the federal state as provided for by our Constitution, and of course, personal responsibility. The current administrative state is one full of arrogance and incompetence. It makes us serfs under the rule of Ivy League men who condescend occasionally to imbue us with their perceived wit and charm, and perhaps pretend to listen to our problems while ignoring the real cause and even making them worse. They constantly repeat the lie that we need them, that we can't survive without them and their gigantic brains and hearts. In reality, they have no regard for you. Do not be deceived, for it will prove a snare to your feet. They tell us to just give them more and more power to control and decide for us how we are to live, what we are to drive, how much soda we can drink, how warm or cool to keep our homes, how or even if we are able to protect our very life breath. It never seems to end. It gets worse every year, and it does not have to be this way. Cast off these arrogant and condescending aristocrats who steal away your wealth and your very lives with each passing day to feather their nests by your labor. This is not a new phenomenon. People have oft been the cause of their own downfall. Aesop set to warn us about this very danger in the mid-6th century BC in one of his now famous fables, one entitled The Eagle and the Arrow, which reads as follows. An eagle sat on a lofty rock, watching the movements of a hare whom he sought to make his prey. An archer who saw the eagle from a place of concealment took an accurate aim and wounded him mortally. The eagle gave one look at the arrow that had entered his heart and saw in that single glance that its feathers had been furnished by himself. It is a double grief to me, he exclaimed, that I should perish by an arrow feathered by my own wings. Are you the eagle, or are you the archer? The choice is yours, my fellow countrymen, but choose you must. And now, just one more short thing. I've only got a couple more minutes, so I'm going to get right to it. The Americans who gave their lives not too far from here, 238 years ago today, did so defending their lives, family, and property from those in their own government who sought to destroy those very things in order to maintain and grow government power and control over them. They were defending something else too. They were defending their natural-born rights as human beings. In doing so, they were laying the foundations of the protections of rule of law to protect millions yet unborn. In fact, they were defending you and yours. How did they do this, and under what authority? The natural right of man to defend himself in the face of imminent danger is irrevocable without his consent. James Wilson, a signer of the Declaration, a member of the Constitutional Convention, and an early Supreme Court justice, said, "The great natural law of self-preservation cannot be repealed. superseded, or suspended by any human institution. The men who gathered there in Lexington on the morning of April 19th, 1775, defended these things by way of two distinct means. First, they were already part of the local militia. Thus, they had been previously trained and prepared for just such an event as they now faced. They were able to transform themselves from individuals acting alone into a group acting in concert for the common defense. Secondly, they were armed with the same type of firearms as the ones used by the regular army or select corps. Therefore, parity was achieved between the regulars and the local militia. Without this vital militia structure, the people would not have been able to drive the select corps back to Boston and go on to win our freedom and build the greatest example of self-government the world has ever seen. It is for these reasons that the Second Amendment exists and is still vital today. Both the second clause, maintaining an individual's right, and the first clause, maintaining the right of the local communities to assemble for the common defense. It is only at our peril that we ignore this critical truth. Too many people to count have sworn a sacred oath to uphold these principles and rights, and many having given the last great measure of devotion, life itself, in defense of our Constitution. We here today undertake no less a noble and solemn endeavor. May we ever uphold our sacred honor and maintain our oaths to the Constitution and its first principles. Thank you. I turn it over now to my good friend, Dan McGonigal. John Franceschi, ladies and gentlemen.